Hey, today we're going to talk to you about unkind words, something that all of us from time to time struggle with in our marriage relationships. We wish we wouldn't, but sometimes we say that unkind word and we wish we could take it back, but we know that we can't. We're going to talk to you about some ways to overcome that and some ways to cut that down to a very, very, very minimum. Hey, I'm Mitch.
And I'm Kim at Keeping the Vows. We'd like to help you discover and maintain a Christ-like marriage.
Fantastic. I'd only been married a few years and I was farming. I was on a tractor one day and I was listening to a radio program. It was James Dobson on Focus on the Family. And he had Stephen Annie Chapman on his radio program, and they're Christian singers about the family. And they have a song that's called If You Leave a Hurt. And the lyrics of that song say, every man who has taken a wife, you had better beware. If you leave a hurt in the heart of your woman, God will not hear your prayer. And after they sang that, James Dobson said he had heard that and he kind of struggled with the lyrics of that. But then he went and he found 1 Peter 3:7, which says this, husbands in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives, and treat them with respect as the weaker partner and as heirs with you in the gracious gift of life. Listen to this, so that nothing will hinder your prayers. They went on in the radio show and talked about how that we need to get control over this thing where we say hurtful things with our tongue. And it's just really so hard to do that. It's easy for a woman to hurt a man. All she has to do is in public say, well, he's not a good lover or he's not a good provider. Even privately, if she says that, it's bad. But in public, it's even worse if she criticizes him like that.
So what we say to others about our spouse is really important. And
Yeah.
I know this verse says husbands, but I think wives, we need to watch our words also. So after hearing this led Mitch to decide that he wasn't going to say unkind things to other people about me anymore. And our son Silas went to college. He was talking with a guy from the dorm, and the guy was telling him about his girlfriend. He kept dissing her and putting her down. Silas just listened to him, and when the guy quit talking, Silas just sat there and stared at him. Silas is smart, and after a while it unnerved the guy. Finally he said, well, I guess I shouldn't be talking about my girlfriend like that. And Silas said, all I can tell you is I'm 22 years old, and I've never heard my dad say a negative word about my mom. So a couple months later, this guy comes back to let Silas know he's engaged to his girlfriend now. And he said, by the way, I think I'll take your dad's advice. So not only can it help your own relationship, but it can have effect on other people's relationships, maybe ones you haven't even met.
Yeah. And if you think about it, you don't really respect someone who's tearing down someone else. Studies have even been done, and like if I were to tear down Kim to somebody, people would actually disrespect me because of it. It was also very easy that could happen. And also, if you take and say negative things about your spouse to, say, your friends or your family, and then you make up because you love each other and you're going to be married, but then your friends and your family don't forget that, and they probably won't like your spouse very much. So you better be thoughtful and reflective about when you say negative things about your spouse. Now, if you go to your parents and say, I'm having trouble in my marriage, I don't know what I'm going to do, that's a little bit different. But just to go and say, well, he doesn't pick up his socks, and he's, doesn't this and that, all the little things, we just complain about them chronically. That's not a good thing to do. It's not a good thing to do.
And while guarding what you say about your spouse in front of other people is important, it might be even harder to guard what you say to them personally.
Yeah, to what you say to your spouse personally, you bet.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's too easy to say something and then later regret it. And so it's easier just to not say it in the first place. But, we're all selfish, self-centered people. We live in a fallen world. And so this is something that you're going to have to practice and learn over time. And something you might not have thought about is your words, even if you don't mean them, will still have a negative effect on your spouse.
Yeah.
If I said bad things about Mitch in the heat of the moment, even if I didn't really mean it, it's still going to make him feel bad about himself. So it's still going to affect our relationship.
Yeah, and women, you don't understand that you can make your husband as much or little of a man as you want to by the words you say with your tongue. There was a lady that I knew, and she would demasculate her man all the time in front of others and in private, and she just made him feel like he was worthless. And after years and years, 15 years of this or 18 years of this, when she finally had lost all respect for him because she'd shredded him with her tongue, she divorced the man. But I don't think she ever realized that she could have had all the man she ever wanted if she would have just used her tongue and build him up instead of tear him down. She just didn't understand that. So if she would have used her tongue as an agent of encouragement instead of discouragement, she could have had a totally different guy. Well, something changed me in this, and had been married for maybe 10 or 12 years, and I was actually studying to be a pastor, and I was going to go to my study and write a sermon. And before I went, I was talking to Kim, and I got kind of frustrated, and I said something unkind to her, and I went to do my sermon. And the scripture says God won't hear your prayers if you hurt your woman. Well, I went to do a sermon, and I can do a sermon on my own, but it's not very good. I want God to be in on the sermon with me. So I went to do a sermon, asked God to help me, and the sermon just did not flow. And I worked and worked, and after a half hour or so, I knew that I'd left a hurt in Kim's heart, and I knew I needed to go apologize. And I just said, I'm not going to do it. and so I sat there for a long time, and finally I said, God, I need to do this sermon. I have to get it done. And God said, you need to go apologize to Kim. I actually looked up at the sky, and I said, God, I'm not going to do it. And he said, okay, just sit there then. And after 15, 30 minutes, whatever, of me sitting there and being proud and arrogant, I finally humbled my heart. I went downstairs and gave Kim a heartfelt apology. And then I went and wrote the sermon because my heart was now in unity with God. And I believe that just think about all facets of your life. Do you ever feel like you're praying and your prayers are hitting the ceilings and bouncing down? Could be because of something, what you said like that. Now, that's when I decided not to say unkind words to Kim. Now, am I perfect? No. Do I mess up? Yeah. Do I sometimes say unkind words? Yeah. But let me explain. It's very rare that I do that. And if I say something unkind, Kim knows that I'm just in a mood, I'm just in a funk, and I'm just not myself at the moment. You see, I give Kim so much praise on this issue that it kind of compensates for this, you might say. So we want to look at the other side of the issue. If saying unkind things about Kim hinders my prayers, then saying good things to her could only enhance my prayers to God, is how I look at it. And so if you think about it like this, I tell Kim, I heard it one time, a woman has to hear the words, I love you 7 times a day. I do that probably by noon, if we're together for the day. And there's times at noon, we'll turn it into a game. I'll say, have I told you I love you? And of course I have, And she'll say, well, I know, tell me, and I tell her again. But I tell her so many times. Now, it's been said that you have to have 10 positives to make up for a negative, But I'm sure that my positives way overcompensate for the negatives. I still wish I could never, ever say a negative thing to my wife, but sometimes it pops out. I'm constantly and consistently making it better, but that's just who I am. And my praise way outnumbers the negative things that I say. And maybe there's a person out there that never, ever says a negative word to their spouse. And that's great. I've never met them, but that's great. If you're out there, I'm just glad for you. Okay.
Jesus tells us that we are to be perfect as he is perfect.
Yeah.
And that isn't just a poetic exaggeration. As I said before, we're all selfish and fallen people, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't even try. We need to strive to be the best possible person that we can be to our spouse. And if it should start anywhere with the words that we say, it should be with our spouse, to say kind words to them and about them.
You bet. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope this helps you. Check out our blog at keepingthevows.com too, or check out our other videos here on YouTube. Please comment and ask questions. We'll try to get those questions answered. That's how we stay relevant, is we're answering the questions people are asking. Okay, please hit the subscribe button, and thanks so much. Have a great day.